Hi everyone, I am so excited for our video today, and the main reason why is because I have with me the new Sonia G Mini Keyaki Sheer Buffer. Yee, isn't that so pretty? I love it. So I actually bought this off of Beautylish when it was released, and I'm so glad that it's here today and we're going to be talking about this. Now, although I already have the regular size sheer buffer with me, I just wanted to have this because I want to have doubles of this in my collection, and having two different sizes is like, a nice visual cue for me to just remind me which brush I am using for either a lighter shade or a darker shade. So I have actually been contemplating on purchasing another sheer buffer for my collection, but I was just like really holding back, and I think the main reason why is because as I've said in a previous vlog, the talk show I was working on suddenly folded up, so I didn't want to have an extra brush which I was not using. And when I saw that this was released, it was just absolutely perfect because they are actually very, very different in terms of just the length of the brush, but both of the brush heads here are actually still the same. So yeah, so we'll be talking about the Mini Keyaki sheer buffer today, and for sure there'll be a comparison to the sheer buffer, but for sure there'll be very minimal difference in and I can say that's for sure just basing off of looking at both of these brushes in front of me right now. And I am also a huge fan of the Mini Keyaki series of Sonia G, and I have a few of them here. So I have the volume 2 in combination with the two big Mini Keyakis, so the Mini Keyaki Niji and the Mini Keyaki buffer. And adding the Mini Keyaki sheer buffer into this collection is just absolutely perfect. By the way, I just also purchased volume 1. It just arrived. I have yet to unbox it, so that video is coming. I didn't want to incorporate that into this video because it might just be too long, and I really want to wash them first before I play around with it. But anyway, I digress. So this is how the Mini Keyaki sheer buffer looks like up close and personal. We can still see the grain on the Keyaki handle here. It's so pretty. Then we have the Sonia G stamping here in the front, and then at the back we still have the name sheer buffer stamp here and the Japan branding. And now we have the ferrule here, which is in a matte black color, which is completely different from the Pro sheer buffer here because this has a very shiny ferrule. Now in terms of the brush head for the Mini Keyaki sheer buffer, it uses Psycho goat hairs mixed with synthetic bristles. Look at that, it's actually still very airy. It snaps back into position very nicely, and it actually still feels very soft and very silky here on the palm of my hands. And when I push it on my palms, you actually still need so much pressure to actually deform the brush head, but it still maintains its shape quite nicely. And then as you guys can see, when it dances, it maintains this directional approach, which is very helpful when you're actually buffing out color into the face. So it's actually very similar to the Pro sheer buffer here. Both of the brushes are actually still very, very airy. But now that I am playing with the brush heads with my fingers here, I can actually feel a little bit of some difference in the strength of the core here. I think we have more strength at the core of the Pro sheer buffer here in comparison to that of the Mini Keyaki sheer buffer. Yes, but it's a very minute difference, which is actually quite remarkable for me, because if I look at the brushes now, both of them right beside each other, they look quite similar, but the length of the ferrule is also very different. So I don't know if that also bears into the core strength of the brush, but I kind of like this minute difference though. I'm actually quite interested to see how they work differently with each other, but for sure I know they can be very complementary. And let me just press both brush heads together here. They bloom out nicely together, and again I think they have the same diameter, so they're actually very, very similar. They're same yet different. If you go to Bangkok, you know what I mean. Now in terms of weight, I can say that the Mini Keyaki sheer buffer here is actually quite light in comparison to that of the Pro sheer buffer here. But I do have to say that the sheer buffer here is actually very well balanced in terms of weight, so it's actually very well distributed, so it actually is going to feel very comfortable on the hand. So if you're someone who doesn't like long handles but you love the sheer buffer, maybe you should check this out because this might work for you. And I love that, like, I can actually just hold it this way. I actually love holding, brushes in that manner and really anchoring it into my palms, and it just keeps it from like falling off of my hands. I love it. So I'm actually very excited to try this out today, and that's what we'll be doing right now. So first, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray on some skin and makeup enhancing mist from Lisa Eldridge, and I'm just gonna pat that in. So I already have my skincare down. By the way, they're all listed down in the description box if you're interested to know, okay? All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I am going to be applying a cream foundation all over my face, and I'm gonna be using a few colors of my MAC full coverage foundation mixed together, and I already have it here on my palette. And although this is a cream foundation, and if you have that in your collection and you're thinking that, like, you don't want to use it because it's just way too thick, it's just way too much coverage on the face, I'm using the sheer buffer either on the regular sized handle or the mini Keyaki one. It's actually a good brush to use, and only if you actually want to apply a very sheer amount of product on the face. And what I love about using the sheer buffer is that you're actually able to apply and to blend out product in no time. Look at that. Very easy and very even. No streaking on my face whatsoever. And it's already like even out my skin tone. And it really did apply a very nice sheer amount of product all over. Now, there was a time that I found the brush head of this to be a little bit too big, especially in the pro handle here. So what I would usually do is I'm going to press it, then pick up some of the foundation and press it into the area where I would need more coverage. So, but that kind of changed right now because Sonia has just released her mini sheer buffer. So this one is actually fantastic because I can just pick up the right amount of product and use this brush to apply foundation here in my nose or here in my under eye area or in my cheek area. So at least it's giving me a much more targeted application of color, and it's also helping me with the coverage that I would need in that area. So if you guys are interested to know my thoughts about that mini sheer buffer from Sonia G, I just reviewed it recently. I'm going to put the link down in my description box so that you can go and check it out at your own convenience, okay? So I am hoping that in the future, Sonia will also develop a mini sheer buffer with a mini Keyaki handle here, because again, it's just so perfect, especially that she has stopped production for her fusion face brushes. And I've always said this here on my channel that I love smaller brush heads because they can just really help me to be detailed with my application. And of course, if I'm working with a smaller face, I need smaller brushes, but if I'm dealing with a bigger real estate on the face, then a big brush head is actually more useful. So I really like to have varieties of brush head sizes in my collection. Okay, I digress. Let's go back to the mini Keyaki sheer buffer here. And just like that, we have a very nice even amount of cream foundation on my face. It doesn't look cakey at all. Very well balanced and very even in application. I love it. Because these MAC full coverage foundations, if you go overboard with it, it can really make your face look cakey, in a snap of a finger. And I love that we have so much control with this product using the mini Keyaki sheer buffer. Now, one product that I love using the sheer buffer with is actually the Chanel bronzing creams, because this is like a gel, cream kind of a hybrid formula. So I already have a little bit of here at the back of my hand, and I'm just picking out the product with the mini Keyaki sheer buffer here, and I'm just going to lightly apply it in the areas of my face where I want to add some warmth, and it's usually here on the cheeks and also here in my forehead. And because I feel that the core of the mini Keyaki sheer buffer here is just a tad, like, softer than the pro sheer buffer, you need to work a little bit to get to the pigment that you want. But other than that, I actually really love how the brush is working with me so far. So what I love about this brush is that it really helps me to control with how much pigment I pick up from the packaging, because I really love building color slowly on the face, and I just love it when brushes really do that with me. And the sheer buffer in the pro handle really does that, and it also does the same for the mini Keyaki handle that we have here. Alright, so now it's time for cream blush application. Now, by the way, if there's a change in lighting, I do apologize. I had to turn on my artificial light because the light coming from this side of the house is becoming quite intense, and we need to balance everything out. But so far, I'm loving how everything is looking with me today. Alright, so cream blush. I love using the sheer buffer for cream blushes in stick form because it picks up a good amount of pigment, and it applies it in a very sheer manner on the face. Look at that. Now, even if the brush head of this is actually very big, it actually maintains quite a very good strength in the middle of the brush head here. So it actually really enables you to apply color in a very specific area of the cheek. And if you're someone who has a much more bigger real estate, this brush head is perfect for you, because it's just going to encompass your entire cheek. Look at that. Fantastic. And now I'm just gonna get the mini sheer buffer here, and then I'm just gonna buff the edges and to blend everything. Look at that. I love that. Again, it's very easy to apply and to blend out. And I love how sheer it is. Look at that. Because with cream blushes, sometimes if you go overboard with it, you get a very, full impact of color. But also depending on the formula that you're using. If you're using a gel, cream formula, at least the brush here, with the ability of it of actually blending out the color, in no time, it actually also saves you some time, because there are some blush formulas wherein it doesn't give you enough play time. So this just really helps you to apply it in no time. And now let's try a liquid blush. So I have actually been appreciating the Unreal liquid blushes from Hourglass now, because it actually took me a while to warm up to them, and I kind of like layering this liquid blush on top of cream blush. And look at that, they're going very well together, blending easily. And again, it's still very soft and very well blended, and I was actually able to apply it in no time. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna clean the brush head of the mini Keyaki sheer buffer here. So I'm just gonna load the brush into this loose setting powder, and then I'm just gonna buff out the brush head on a microfiber towel here. Okay, so I have here my MAC NC35, and I'm gonna be using the sheer buffer for this. So look at that, it really is a very strong brush head. As you guys can see, there was a little bit of some product disturbance on the pan here, but I do have to say that it's not as strong as the other brushes that I have in my collection, wherein I get a lot of product fallout. So if that happens, it means that I might pick up way too much of the formula, and when I add it onto my skin, it's gonna look thick and cakey. Anyway, so I'm gonna apply the powder foundation now on my face. So I'm just gonna apply that here in the inner portions of my cheeks and my eyes. Look at that. Again, very easy, very light, and it's actually just enough to set the foundation. So again, like, as I've said in a previous video, these sheer buffer brushes are like, true worker horse brushes from Sonia G. And you can use it for a number of formulas, maybe for powder, cream, or even liquid. Gel even. And again, if you're finding the brush head of the mini Keyaki sheer buffer to be a little bit too big for a specific area on the face that you would like to apply powder, you can always use the mini sheer buffer. So I hope this isn't causing any confusion because I know the names are very similar. So again, the mini sheer buffer is this brush, which has the Pro handle design, and then the mini Keyaki sheer buffer is the one that has the Keyaki handle with the brush head of the regular Pro sheer buffer design. Okay, all right. Also, one thing, by the way, I love using the brush for bronzer application, and I have here a Baked Gelée bronzer here from Laura Mercier, and I'm just gonna apply a little bit of that here onto my cheeks. And again, it does a job of applying a sheer amount of color in no time. Very well blended and very diffused. I love that. Alright, so I believe we have come to the end of my vlog for today. So I hope that you guys enjoyed me showing you how I use the mini Keyaki sheer buffer. Now, I do have to say, it does really act very similarly to that of the Pro sheer buffer, and the only difference is the design of the handle. So it depends on you on what your preference is, and also of your collection. So if you are someone who has shorter handles for makeup brushes, then the mini Keyaki sheer buffer is for you, especially if you're someone who's always traveling. This is a good brush to have. Or if you're someone who likes to have the regular sized sheer buffer, you can always get it in the Pro series handle. Okay, yeah, so that's it. Oh, and don't forget, by the way, do get the mini sheer buffer. Having this in your collection and pairing it with either the mini Keyaki sheer buffer or the Pro sheer buffer is actually a great tandem, I swear to you guys. So I really do hope that Sonia G will also create this in the Keyaki handle, because I just want to have a double with a different handle design, because again, that can really help me visually to let me know which brush I am using for which product, or which formula or which color. Okay, yeah, so that's it for me today. So if you guys have any more questions about the mini Keyaki sheer buffer, please let me know down in the comments box and let's have a conversation about it. Or any makeup products that I use today, by the way. Okay, yeah, so that's it. So I'm gonna let you guys go now. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. Bye.